All right, so we'll just jump right in.
Perfect.
Welcome to episode 2 of Push to Talk. Today we are joined by our guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Wyatt Rouse.
Yes, sir. We met when we did a play together called Legally Blonde. And what character did you play? I forget.
Oh shit, I think I was just ensemble for that one.
Where are you? Yeah. I remember you,
Yeah.
me, and the boys would like hang out in the back.
Oh man, what a time.
Yeah, and then your brother played like the package guy. He'd like hold the package right
No,
here.
I think that one was Kyle. I think
Oh, that was
Caleb
Kyle.
played, oh, what was Caleb's name? I
I
feel
don't
bad. Oh,
remember.
Emmett.
Emmett,
Emmett.
yeah, the love
Yeah.
interest, of course,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Excellent. And he's getting married, is that right?
He just got married, yeah.
He is married. Wow,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
insane.
I know.
Okay, so what have you been into?
Well, recently I've been doing audio engineering stuff. I'm
Okay.
a student at Belmont University. I'm a senior. So naturally, being in Nashville, you kind of have to do the music thing.
Yeah.
So right now I'm employed at Ocean Way Studios, just student staff. But essentially what that entails is setting up tracking sessions for the musicians that come in. It's a really nice job. We generally have a solid roster coming in. We had Carrie Underwood in there a couple weeks ago.
Did you meet her?
Um, yeah, but the extent of our conversation was, "Bye, have a good day." "Hey, you too. Thank you very much."
Okay.
So
Yeah,
nothing special, but
fair
yeah,
enough.
she was in there with. I think they were doing something with NBC, recording some NFL intros or something like that.
Cool.
So that's been cool. We get Disney in there every so often.
Yeah.
Um, Other things like that. It's a fun time.
I almost went to Belmont for audio
Really?
engineering. I'm not even joking.
What?
Like you can't make that up, right? Like
Oh
yeah, I was
man.
like I was like, yeah, man, I'm pretty good on computers. Like I've always done Photoshop and stuff like that. I like music, but like I don't have like any musical talent. And I feel like, there are producers that do have musical talent, like I'm talking like being able to play instruments, sing, stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
feel like there are also a lot of producers that can kind of just rely on the technology and know the space. Um,
100%.
and so I was hoping to fall into the latter category. And I told my dad, I was like, yeah, I want to go for audio engineering, man. And he was like, no, you're going to go for software engineering. Joke's on you. And, that's what I ended up doing. But yeah, I was going to go to Belmont because my girlfriend at the time, she's not my ex, she went to Austin P State University, which is
Where
pretty
is that?
close.
Is that Tennessee?
It's Clarksville. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And so it was pretty close. It was like an hour from Nashville. And I was like, oh, we can be close to each other. I can study my music stuff. Like, yeah. But ended up not happening. But dude, that would have been sick if I saw you there.
Dude, if you came to Belmont, it would have been a time.
Yeah,
Oh
for sure.
Lord.
Okay, so you're producing. Is that like, are you wanting to just keep it like a business thing, or are you also doing like your own side projects?
Well, it's kind the side projects are definitely happening on the personal level, but that's more of like a hobby thing. I think I wanted to do that as the main thing when I came to Belmont. So I started off as a songwriting major at Belmont, but then I switched to audio engineering. And part of the songwriting thing, I think a lot of songwriters come here with a passion to perform, which I did,
Yeah.
but I kind of grew out of it. And so with all the side projects that are happening on my personal time, those are more hobby projects,
Okay.
whereas like the production side of things, that's more of the business stuff that I've been doing. So just producing for friends and tracking people out again at the studios I'm working at.
Yeah.
Um, that's more of what that entails.
Do you call it the stew like everybody else?
Oh my God. No, I try not to.
Yeah, man. I'll be in the stew, bro.
It slipped once or twice, and immediately afterwards, I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't say that.
But what's interesting about those when you like, like when Lit first came out or like when people started anything like that, it slips out once, like ironically, but then you keep saying it, and then you're like, yeah,
Yup.
man, catch me in the stew, bro.
Yeah, bro, that beats fire.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think you made an interesting point because like as a dude that like, so just to catch you up to speed briefly, when I moved from Virginia, I moved to Tennessee to get to know my mom. And then when I was there, I found a community theater that I performed at for a year. I did the whole season, just absolute love of the craft. They didn't pay me anything. I just loved it. And that was kind of my last like thing with theater. Like I learned to tap dance, but like I just haven't had any desire to pick it up since. And you said that like you lost that like interest, I guess, in that side of things, the performance side of things. And I did too. Like I'm more motivated by other things now. And like for a second I was like, oh, I want to do like run crew. I don't know. I feel like
Hmm.
I've changed in that I want to exercise my creativity differently, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like performing just doesn't call to me anymore. I don't know what it is.
yeah. I'm in the same boat. I feel like at first when I like started to lose interest in the performing side of things, a part of me was like almost shameful of that because like my
Yeah.
family, we're all performers. We always have been. I mean, talking about Caleb earlier,
Right.
like he's always done the theater thing. And so I think growing up, um, behind him, I kind of followed him into that performing world. And I'm so grateful for the experience I had in performance. But once I got to college and, once I kind of grew out of that performing crowd that I was in high school, I started to find where my true passions were. And that was definitely like the audio engineering side of music. And don't get me wrong, like I still do coffee shop performances every now and then, but the main goal at this point isn't performance.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense because, like, for me as a software engineer, like, my job entails sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day. And, like, my best days are when nobody bothers me, like, no meetings, none of that. I can just, like, heads down work. And
Hmm.
I feel like with audio engineering, it's a little bit more fun because you can do that, but then you can also, like, let's say, I don't know, like, Kanye bought one of your beats, right? You can, like, see him perform it, and you're like, I wrote that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like your stuff could still get performed. It's just like we get that opportunity to have like the intimate creation process just by ourselves, right?
Hmm.
Which I
Yeah.
like. Because
Yeah.
like with theater, you have to be, or performance in general, you have to be so vulnerable. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
100%.
And I didn't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. I feel that. I think there's a certain part of production and songwriting right now that I used to have pretty securely, but recently I've kind of lost it and I want to refine it. And that is that vulnerability side of things.
Yeah.
Because there is still like a vulnerability aspect of writing and of producing, but it's a different kind of vulnerability. Um, and so, back when I was, writing songs a whole lot, I had that vulnerability. But then I kind of switched gears to do, to hone my production skills. Um, and a part of that was focusing less on lyric writing and that kind of stuff. And I think I lost some of that vulnerability. So one of the goals right now has been to, regain or refine how to be vulnerable.
So for me, I find just doing things that make you uncomfortable. So like it can
Yeah.
be as silly as like taking a cold shower, which I hate cold showers. I'm the kind of guy like I like my warm shower. It just feels so nice, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I read somewhere that like just doing things every single day that make you uncomfortable can help you to like find that discomfort and be more okay with it,
Yeah.
which I'm not tasking myself with doing that just because I'm very fine being not vulnerable. Maybe if I get to a place, I find that the people I date end up wanting more vulnerability. So it's
Hmm.
something I might have to work on if I want to start a relationship, but I just
Yep.
don't have
Yep.
time for that right now. I'm so busy.
Yeah, I feel that I'm kind of in the same boat relationship wise. I've been moving around a lot between like Nova and then Nashville, and it's always going back and forth. And I think the game plan for my next semester in spring, I want to do that in LA. And so with all,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
so I can't really, not saying I can't start a relationship, but it makes it hard going into a
yeah.
long distance relationship early. So,
Well, yeah, see, I was telling somebody about this earlier, and I want your opinion on it. So, I find that long distance relationships work for me. It sounds
okay.
weird, right? But they
Yeah.
work because, like, I find that there's a really good balance of, like, okay, this week I'm going to work completely on myself, completely on my job, completely on my hobby, completely on my passion, all that. And then, like, you fly out and you see your boo. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? And they
mhm,
do the
mhm.
same thing, like, all week. They grind, and then they get to see you. And like that's just it works for me.
Yeah, oddly enough, I think I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like it might come. Are you familiar with Enneagram?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a type 4 on the
I
Enneagram.
think I am too.
Oh,
I
sick.
think, I
What's up,
think,
4?
I think. I only
All
know
right.
that through my ex-girlfriend, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Look into that because
Okay.
yeah, one of the things about type 4s is, a need for independence, and I think part of that is um part of the whole like long distance dating thing um can actually work to a four's benefit
Yeah.
because you're not necessarily tied at the hip.
Right. And it also forces a level of like independency. Like I remember in one of my first like high school relationships, the problem was we built like our entire worlds around each other, as
Mhm.
opposed to like, I have my friends, she had her friends, and then we could like be separate and then together. Right. And I think that that's like
Yeah.
a recipe for disaster if you don't have like your own life, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I think there's validity to having like the honeymoon phase being like that first 2 months where like
yeah.
you're inseparable, but like I'm not saying there needs to be lines drawn, but I do think in a relationship, like part of what makes it work is it's two individuals, it's not one unit.
Right. And the realism, like having that realism, like that wasn't at all a part of my first relationship. I was like, I'm gonna marry you. We're gonna have kids. You know what I mean? We're gonna love each other
Yeah,
forever. I don't even talk to that girl today. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
so weird.
Doesn't mean you can't get married to her though. Find
That's
her.
true. I don't know. I've like sent her a couple texts every now and then. I'm like, hey, I hope you're doing well. And it's not even like an interest. It's not even like a booty call or anything gross like
Yeah.
that. It's just like, hope you're doing well.
Uh-huh.
I get
Uh-huh.
left on red every single
Oh,
time.
rest in peace. Well, as
Yeah.
long as things are fine, you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I like people to me are like so important to like check up on. That's why I started this whole project. Like I can't let go of people no matter what happens with
Mm-hmm.
them. You know what I mean? Like I always want to know like where they are or like what they're doing and so I reach out to my exes and I think they probably find it weird, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have an
Yeah.
interest in like what people are doing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, kudos to you for that, because like we really haven't talked much since Legally Blonde back. I think that was like 8 years ago.
It was
Like,
2014.
was that? Let's see.
So
Yeah, so
it's
that's
almost
like seven.
2022. Yeah,
Yeah, 7 or 8 years
that's
ago.
wild.
Yeah. So like,
What was the
props to
director's
you,
name? Uh,
Jason Augustowski.
Augustowski, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a
You,
hoot.
you should hit him up for this
Oh,
project you
that's not a
got
bad
going on.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah. He's cool. He's always got good life stories. So.
We'll see. I don't know if you ever were told this story. Probably not, because there's no reason for you to be told it. But I was walking through New York because this was when I was still interested in theater, and I like auditioned at all the big schools or whatever. I should have done it for straight theater, but I did it for musical theater.
Mhm.
And I was auditioning at Juilliard. I was gonna make a weekend of it. I was gonna go to the writer callbacks. I was gonna go to Juilliard for an audition, and I was gonna see Hamilton. Did all those. But you know who like I was walking down a random street in New York City, a random street, and you know who comes running out of a building and is like, Dom,
Who?
Paisley, dude.
Oh,
And
Paisley LaBoo?
I was like, what?
Dude, she's like my best friend. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And I was like, oh my, like I haven't seen you in forever. This is crazy. This was in like 2017, 2016.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I'm like, I think like how crazy it is out of such a huge city to like see somebody. That's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, honestly, New York, I don't think I've ever been to New York without seeing someone I know that's not from New York randomly.
Yeah.
I
Which
think
is
the
weird because
first
it's
time I
so
went
big.
there, yeah, I know. I saw, I don't even know how I'm related to these people, but I saw I think it's my grandma's cousin walking down the street. And I was like, "Wait, I know you." And she was like, "Yeah, you're like my nephew-in-law or something." I was like, "Wait, what the
Yeah.
always happens like that."
And like it's crazy because it just kept going because then I was chilling throughout the night. I ended up going to like this coffee shop in Manhattan and then I ran into did you know Emma Leone?
Oh, I know the name.
Yeah, she was a big performer like within the space that we were in at that time. And like I
Gotcha.
ran into her too and I was like, bro, like crazy, right? What are
Yeah,
the
that's
odds?
crazy. Yeah.
Um, so okay, what are your next steps? You're a senior. You said you're moving to LA, so I guess
Yeah,
tell
so the
me
game
the game
plan,
plan.
yeah, game plan is LA spring semester because Belmont offers a study abroad out there. Um,
Study abroad is
I
California.
know
That's hilarious.
I know.
That's
Uh,
hilarious.
Well, I was originally supposed to go on a study abroad trip to London, but that got canceled because of
Yeah,
COVID.
that
So
makes
kind of
sense.
sucks, but I'll take LA as a close second.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think the game plan right now, I'd love to get a job in the recording side of things, working as an in-house engineer at a studio, and then of course doing production stuff on the side, freelance work.
yeah.
I think that would be really fun, and I think it would bring in at least a decent amount of money.
Yeah. I think one of the prerequisites of like trying to chase not even the dream, because I think you have a very rational and logical like pursuit. It's not even, I wouldn't even call it a dream. I think
Hmm.
like a prerequisite to that is accepting that if you're going to LA, you're gonna either have three jobs or you're gonna like be struggling. And
Yep,
that's part of the fun, I think, you know?
yep. And you might
Um
have three jobs and be struggling. So
That's true. That's so true. That's crazy. And then okay, so you're gonna go to LA and you're gonna do that. And then the one thing I wanted to ask is when you get there, like, are you like a big partier? Like, do you enjoy partying? Because I this is an aimed question, so go ahead and give me the answer, and then
okay.
I'll.
Well, going through college, I wasn't, but as of the past like 6 months or so, I've I've become a lot more of a
Okay.
partier. I think over the summer I hosted 4 or 5
You
parties.
hosted. You didn't even
Yeah.
indulge, like you hosted the
Well,
thing. Okay.
listen, my roommates were they were partiers.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
they knew how to throw a party. And so naturally me being at the house and loving to be involved in things, I kind of went off on hosting these parties a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm proud of them. They were a good time.
Okay,
Uh,
cool. So
but
the
yeah.
reason I ask is because I feel like the whole thing about LA is it's like you can go there and not have a single like skill or talent, but if you know how to
Hmm.
talk to people and you know like who to talk to and like what parties to go to, you can find somebody that's willing to like give you an opportunity, right?
Yup. Yup.
And so I was
That's
kind of curious what your approach is to that.
well, I've always found it best, for me personally, meeting up with people like for coffee or lunch or whatever. That's generally how I find my connections best. Because for the most part, and I think using my student title as of right now, a lot of people that are deep into the industry are willing to give someone that says, "Hey, I'm a student," the time of day to talk to them and to see what's up. But yeah, with the LA life, I can definitely see how, the parties, the lunches, the dinners, the whatever,
Yeah.
that's how you socialize. And I'm certain, like, when you talk to Caleb, he'll tell you about that. He's out in LA right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, yeah. He's
Is he doing like is he trying to pursue film?
so he I think is still doing he's still trying to do like theater and stuff, but as of recently he's been leaning a lot more on film work and other things like that, not
Mm,
necessarily being acting, but being behind the camera, which I think
interesting.
is pretty cool. So he's working at a coffee shop out there right now called Verve,
Yeah.
and he's been making a lot of
Verve. I've
random
heard of that.
connections.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's
no,
where
it's like
everybody gets
a
their first LA job.
it's a nice coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's cool though about having you guys are you are twins, right? Like you're not just
No.
brothers. You're not?
Everyone thinks we're twins. No, he's a year and a half older
I
than me.
100% thought you were twins.
Everyone
100%.
does.
Okay, so the good thing about having a brother that looks identical to you is it's kind of like an investment. Like if you make it, he makes it. And if he
Yeah.
makes it, you make it, right? Because
Yeah.
like as soon as
I've
people find out,
definitely
oh my
felt that.
gosh, the actor has a twin brother, even though you're not twins, they'll think that.
Uh-huh.
They'll be like, oh my gosh, he has a twin. We gotta look him up, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Talk about the Hemsworth brothers. You got
Yeah.
Liam and Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So you have that going for you. And did his girl move to
Yeah. So they're
LA?
both out there right now. She's doing social work. I want to say she's, oh man, don't take my word for it, but I think
Okay.
she's doing foster care right now.
Okay. Is
Which
she into performance too?
So she was in high school, but graduating, I think she, similar to me, kind of found interests in other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, she got her degree in social work and is now
Nice.
helping out with foster children, which
That's
is
awesome.
so noble.
They're like the perfect like
Hmm.
couple, you know what I mean? He's like a
Oh
movie,
yeah.
he's gonna be a movie star, she's gonna be saving the planet. Like,
100%.
yeah. Okay. We interrupt this program to bring to you our sponsors. Thank you, Monster Energy, for sponsoring this episode. For 0 sugar and 10 calories, you get a lot of good energy that keeps you going throughout the day. Let me tell you, I have about 3 of these a day. We don't recommend having 3 of these a day. I personally do. As somebody that works 8 hours a day in front of the computer and then has to go box for 3 hours, it's good to have a nice little pick me up. So we recommend Monster Energy as your energy drink of choice. Thank you, and back to the program. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that, I mean, that's a pretty good game plan, I think, moving out to LA and stuff. It's definitely something I'm interested in. You know, I don't know if you can see that plaque right there,
Hmm.
but that's a lot of debt. That's my degree. So as soon as
Gotcha.
I pay that off, I'm thinking about either New York or LA as well.
Gotcha.
Um,
And where'd you go to school?
I went to William and Mary.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, pretty close, not too far.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked it a lot. It was really fun. The last year was COVID, which kind of sucked, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, like, dude, I hate to sound like an introvert, but this like this is where like I make all my moves. You know what I mean? I can do
Hmm.
everything I need to do from right here.
Dude,
And so
honestly,
like,
digital age and COVID, like the bedroom is honestly like the perfect storm for making shit.
yeah, it really is. And I tried so much. Like I tried I tried making a song when my girlfriend and I broke up the first time. I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm gonna be a rapper, man." And yeah, I wrote like one song and I was like, this isn't for me."
I think anyone that's into music at some point, whether it's a large dream or a small dream, has dreams of being a rapper.
Yeah. Did you go
Yeah.
through a rap phase?
I mean, not necessarily. Well, I don't even want to lie. Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Uh, I still write verses every so often just to hone my chops on the
Yeah.
songwriting thing. Um, there's no way I'd want to go into rap performance. That game is so cutthroat,
Yeah.
but it's still a cool field.
I mean, what I've always liked is like not even like rap per se, but you think of like some musical theater, you think of like Sondheim, you think of 21 Pilots, like
Hmm.
any genre can use that like patter of
Yep,
like da 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 da, you know what I mean?
the triplet, the Migos
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't always have to be rap, but sometimes it's just more fun than like belting or
Hmm.
singing, you know what I mean?
And honestly, I think rap. I think a lot of people rag on rap for not necessarily being as musical as other genres, but I think there is there's a side of it that's more musical in ways than others. I think the rhythmic complexity of hip hop, as well as the poetic complexities, um, far outweigh other genres. So maybe it's not as melodic as other genres, but I do think hip hop has a place in the music world
Yeah.
that old people don't understand.
Well, not only that, but like if you think about what makes like some of the most beautiful ballads ever written, like what makes them amazing is like the lyricism, like what it elicits
100%.
using the words. But like if you think of like rap, like a lot of the rap songs aren't even like, I hate to say this, but they're not even that good because of the rapper. They're good because of like a really good producer that like made a fire beat, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And
understandable.
so like there's a lot to be said about like the things happening under the hood with regards to like hip hop or rap or whatever it might be. I feel like there's a whole like calculus to it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Do you have like a method for when you're sitting down in the stew and you're sitting down
Oh
getting ready to
man.
like do you like burn a candle or like get some incense? Like what's the process, man?
Honestly, no, there's not really a process. It's all about, I mean, I think it always starts out with the feeling. And from there, like, it'll go to whatever it needs to go to. So a lot of the time, um, I will start out, just making a simple beat and seeing what can go on top of that. Generally, that idea gets trashed, but sometimes it won't. Um, but like other times, it'll start off with lyric writing. Like I don't know, I keep in my notes on my phone, I anytime I have an idea for a good lyric, it goes in this one section of my notes, and then of course I'll go back to it like 3 months later and be like, ugh, what the fuck? But
Well, what's
but
worse for
yeah.
me is I pull out the Snapchat. This, like, I don't even use voice memos because those are beyond me. I'll pull out the Snapchat, I'll go on the auto record, and I'll sing something out, or I'll lay down some hard freaking bars, and then I listen to it. I'm like walking through a grocery store when I get this idea. So I'm in a grocery store, you see like the fluorescent lights above, and you see like
Mhm.
my head like jamming, singing or whatever. And then
Uh-huh.
I watched that back like 4 months later. I'm like, dude, you look so dumb.
Yep, yep. There's a reason some things stay in the drafts.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And do
yeah.
you ever have like a client that's like, "Hey man, I want you to like combine this but also this," and like just like an impossible task?
Oh, all the time. Let me pull up. So right now I'm working with a good friend of mine named Jacob Fleming. I'm gonna try to let me see if I can pull up my texts uh, with him because there was something. There's a project we're working on right now called Second, and he's more of an indie folk writer. But I texted. Oh, sorry. This was for a different. This wasn't for Second. This was for a different project called Tightrope. I was like, hey, when you get a chance, can you send me some reference songs for Tightrope? Um, and the songs that he sent were so wildly different. He sent "Sorry Kid" by Ben Howard, "Ontario" by Keaton Henson, "The Greatest Bastard" by Damian Rice, and "Lights Up" by Harry Styles. And I'm like, man, Harry Styles and Ben Howard are two very different artists.
That's
So yeah,
crazy,
that shit
man.
happens all the time.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine and like I can't even imagine being given like a reference song because for me, like when I was doing like the music thing, like
Hmm.
I would hear a song and I'd be like, "Oh, that's so cool. I want to try that." And then it would just sound like exactly alike. Like it's such a fine line to be able to like use references and also make it your own.
Yep. And honestly, with that being said, there is something to be learned from recreating someone else's song, just line for line, trying your best to completely emulate that song. Because there are things that, like, if I'm just listening to something passively on Spotify, I'm like, oh, that's a cool beat. But then I'll go back in Logic or Pro Tools, and I'll try to recreate that, and I'll hear different things and be like, oh, that's actually really fucking cool what they did there. And so
Yeah.
then I can take those ideas and throw them into my own stuff.
It's really interesting you say that because I was talking to a guy last night, Garrett Thomas. He's a friend of mine, and he goes by the name of Gray TMP. That's like his artist name, and he's like doing the rap thing, very influenced by Mac Miller and stuff like that. Rest in peace, Mac Miller.
Mhm.
And he said that one of his like ways to get started if he's just lost is he'll take like the first verse of like a song that's like out there, right? And then he'll just write everything on top of that like his own, and he'll build from
Okay.
that initial verse, and then he can go back and change it, or he can leave it in as like a tribute to show like, at one point I liked this person or I liked this artist, right? And I think that's kind of like reminiscent of what you said.
Yeah, that's a really interesting technique. I've never heard people doing that, but like I
Yeah.
really like that idea.
Yeah,
It'll
because the first
definitely
thing is
help with the
always like
wordsmith.
the hardest thing to come up with is the first verse, like always.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You never like if I'm sitting down and I'm saying, "Hey, I'm going to write lyrics now," but I have nothing in my mind, writing that first line,
Yeah.
that's what gets it down, but like sometimes it'll take 45 minutes just to write that first line.
Right.
So,
100%.
yeah.
Do you find yourself like you see in these videos like these producers like they'll throw on like a like just a boom boom, and then you
Mhm.
like just start sounding stuff out to it. Like, do you do that sort of thing?
By sounding stuff out, do you mean like, thinking up my own tracks in my head? Is that
Like just moving around like in a space and like feeling like the beat and like just like literally making like moaning sounds and like
oh,
yeah,
100%.
and you're like just trying to
100%.
sound something out.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, a common technique in the songwriting world is just using gibberish. Like, in
yeah,
order to get lyrics down, a lot of the times what we'll do is, if we have the music laid out first, literally just mumbling lyrics that don't make sense until you can find whatever you're looking for, whether it be a lyric or just a melody out of that. Um, figuring things out and just listening and vibing to it. And wow, I kind of hate the word that I just used, or I kind of hate that I just used the word vibing.
No, it's
Um,
still in. It's still in, bro.
is it
That one
okay?
doesn't expire till like 2023 at least.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. But just vibing to
Yeah.
the song. That's
Catching a
really great.
vibe.
Yeah. But just like, feeling that out and finding what you want in that song can definitely help the
Yeah.
process.
I feel like, do you know who I think's really good at that? And I don't know if you know him, and if you do, we're gonna have a really good conversation. And if you don't,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you some stuff to watch. Do you know John
Okay.
Bellion?
100%. You
Okay,
think I
have
don't
you
know
watched?
Bellion?
Huh?
You think I don't know Bellion? He's one of my
Yeah.
top artists.
So not only does he like also do like the sounding out thing, like you can see it in some of his. Have you watched his like making of videos?
Yep. Yep.
Bro,
Are you
those are
thinking?
so good.
I think I know which one specifically you're thinking of.
The hanging in the closet.
Yup,
Yep, yeah, yeah,
yup.
yeah,
There's bones in my closet,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
hang stuff anyway. Yeah,
yeah,
guillotine. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I
crazy.
remember he was like sounding it out, and I was like, bro, he just came up with that on the spot. That's
Yep,
crazy.
that is a perfect example of what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's one of my favorites. I love John Bellion.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like I mean, I was listening to him. I think, right at the beginning of when the definition came out, and it's been really cool to like listen and follow along with what he's been doing through Human Condition and through Glory Sound Prep. Um, but like he's definitely been one of my biggest influencers when it comes to music. And it's odd because I don't really, you know, focus on the genres of music that he focuses on, which I feel like for him it's more pop, hip hop side of things. For me, it's more, folk, a little bit of pop, and practicing stuff. I'll work in hip hop fields and R&B and whatever. But it's interesting that I find a lot of my processes um, from what he's doing and applying it to something completely different.
Yeah, and I feel like he's actually a really good benchmark for like you because yeah, he's got his own stuff. He's got a ton of his own work, but at the end of the day, like he's also producing like he produced Anyone for Justin Bieber, like
Yep.
that huge like love song and everything. Like
Yep.
he's making like tons of hits for these like larger people and you don't even know that he made it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um and so I
Done
feel like
some
that's
stuff with
a really good example of kind of what you're trying to aim for, I guess,
yeah,
you know?
100%, 100%.
But I was hoping, I don't know if I was the only one, but when I heard Glory Sound Prep, it was a little shorter and it had prep in it. So I thought like, oh, we're gonna get Glory Sound, man. There's gonna be a part two. I'm still waiting for
Mm-hmm.
part two, bro. I'm still
Yeah,
waiting.
I don't know what his game plan is. Like, I don't know. Recently, he's definitely been focusing on um, growing Lawrence, the band. Um,
I don't even know
which,
this band.
oh, okay. So he manages Lawrence. You should look them up when you get a chance. They are really cool. Like I think they're becoming more in the pop side of things, but it's very, it still has a shit ton of soul in it.
Yeah.
And they're crazy good musicians. They always have been, but they just never really had the recognition until um, John Bellion took them on. Oh, I don't remember which tour it was, but they opened for him on tour, and then he started managing them. Um,
Interesting.
so yeah,
And
recently,
how do you spell it? Lawrence? Is it
yeah,
just
Lawrence.
okay? I'm gonna check them out. Cause like
Yeah,
there's like those John Bellion derivatives. Like I know that like AJR isn't exactly like a John Bellion derivative, but they have that
I think they
sound.
are.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And I like it. Like it's kind of like he created a genre himself, which is
yeah,
kind of wild. It's kind of nutty.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
honestly, it's that I don't want to say overproduced, but very I think Pixar is a good way of putting it.
it's like
Like it
using
sounds very
everything as a sound.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
One of my favorite things, and I want to know if you've ever done this. I see producers do it where they like, and he did this in one of his making ofs where he like uses his mouth as like an instrument. Like he'll like sing something and then like put guitar over it. I don't even know how it
Mhm.
works.
Mhm.
How does that
Yeah,
work?
so it's I mean, generally if you're talking about like vocoding, um that would be more of like if I'm singing, I have the formants being push to whatever keys I'm doing. So the pitches in the key, like, wow, this is hard to explain. Uh, if I'm singing, the keys will associate a pitch with that, and it's Imogen Heap. Um, do you know the song "Hide and Seek"?
No,
Okay,
but I'm
it
picking up what you're
was
laying down.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know that sample, Jason Derulo, what you
Yeah,
say?
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's sampled from "Hide and Seek" by Imogen Heap. That
Okay.
is a perfect example of vocoding. If that's what you're talking about, then yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. But if you're talking about
I couldn't even figure out auto tune when I was using Logic. Like I'm so not capable of figuring out this technology. It's really
Mhm.
overwhelming when you open a program. You're like, wow, there's so many switches.
Yeah, you kind of have to take it bit by bit. I started off doing most of my stuff in Logic, and I still use Logic a lot of the times, especially when it comes to like I don't know, just laying out random beats, like throwing ideas down. I still think Logic is best for that because, in my opinion, I think Logic was made for songwriters, which is so awesome. The amount of stock plugs that they have that are actually crazy good. They have a solid amount of stock instruments, things like that, completely made for the songwriter. Um, but like as you said, it's kind of daunting
Yeah,
to start off doing that. So like taking it bit by bit, learning how to use your MIDI instruments, and then figuring out what each plugin does, and slowly kind of
yeah.
what's the word? Moving through that. Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like the thing with like anything in life is like it's just hard to start and it's scary to start.
yeah,
You could talk about Photoshop, you could talk about Logic, you could talk about like boxing, which is something I'm doing right now. Like anything in this world, like you just got to start it. And then once you start it, you can prototype and you can get better and you can play. And if you get to a place where you're really just getting on to play with it, then like it's not even like a chore. It's just like, oh, like it's discovery, you know?
yeah, yeah. It becomes. I think at that point, that's when it becomes a hobby.
Yeah,
Like I think anything that you want to get into can start off as a chore, and it's not that it's not fun, but it's definitely daunting.
yeah,
But once you get to a point where you're comfortable in the skill, it becomes fun, and you play around, and you become a lot more um, adept in that skill.
yeah, 100%. Um, I have you ever done anything in like any kind of design stuff with like Photoshop or modeling, like Blender? Have you ever used Blender?
Man, I tried. I could not get into 3D modeling.
Yeah,
I've never been a visual person. Um, at one point, I really tried it,
yeah.
but I'm just not good with Photoshop, Illustrator, Blender, any of
I
that shit.
I only make the reference because I feel like if you ever open it, like as somebody that's never, it's kind of that same thing where you're just completely overwhelmed, and
Yup,
there's just such a learning curve, and it's
yup.
crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
I still have it on my computer, and I did open it up again. I think last February. I opened it. I was like, do I want to start this?
yeah.
No, and I just closed it.
Well, see, I found a hobby like just I open Photoshop and I just start painting
Hmm.
like Bob Ross looking stuff. Like it's not even that good, but it's just it makes me feel good inside. I'm like,
Yeah,
this makes me
yeah,
feel good. I'm gonna keep
yeah.
painting. And I paint, I do some shading on it, and I'm like, that looks good. I like that.
Yeah,
That makes me
yep.
happy. You
Dude,
know?
honestly, that's what it's all about. I think, there's the great thing about being part of a creative field is at the end of the day, the product that you're putting out, not only is it a product that, hopefully will make money, but it's a product that makes you feel good. You feel accomplished
Yeah.
when you put something out.
Yeah. Is there any other thing that you like do? I know theater was like a hobby more or less, but like is this your hobby now or is this like your job and you have another hobby?
I mean, this is kind of a hobby and a job. I think it's still like, yes, I'm making money doing the studio stuff, and I'm making very little money doing the production stuff. I think we're slowly transitioning from that hobby side of things to the job side of things. Um, but I don't know if you're talking like hobbies. I don't necessarily
I
know if I
guess like
have
are you
any.
doing anything for fun? Like or is like is working in the stew as it were? Is that like the fun?
That is the fun of it.
Nice.
I have picked up. I don't know. I'm really interested in theology recently.
Theology, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I we could talk a little bit about that because I've not always been super like at one with God and I've
yep.
been trying to open that relationship, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I don't know. So my relationship in religion has been very rocky, and a part of like in order to figure all that out, I have picked up theology, but not necessarily like you know the unexamined theology, the fire and brimstone type stuff, but more of like just reading up on different authors and seeing how they view God, and some of them are very vocal about their hatred towards God, and I think that's an awesome ideology, and I feel that um, a whole lot. So, not to dive too deep into the theology rabbit hole, but that's definitely been something that I've been picking up, and it's been helping me with my psyche a little bit
Yeah.
because I don't know. I grew up in church, and there was a large part of me that just didn't like church, to be
Yeah.
frank. And it's because it wasn't church really isn't for me. But I do think there's an element of God that still is for me.
What's
Um,
really interesting about that is that I had the same experience. So my mom, I love her to pieces. We're good. It's just she went to I don't want to use the word crazy, but I'll use it. A crazy church when we were younger.
okay.
They were Pentecostal, and
I
they
think I
they
know which
like
church you're talking about, but I'm not going to name it for the sake of the
no,
podcast.
it was in Tennessee at the time, so
Oh, okay.
it,
Oh,
it is a
okay.
different one, but
There's
it's
a different
probably
Pentecostal in Nova. That yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it was just there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it was very passionate. It was very like theatrical and it was just like almost like just too much for a kid
Mhm.
and it definitely turned me away from the idea of like religion and God. But as a an older man, I'm 24 now, just turned 24. I thought,
Nice.
when my pops dies, I want to be able to talk to him. And I don't know if God's the solution to that, but certainly talking to somebody that is not just talking to myself, I think that's a start. And so, I found that like, just praying every now and then, like it's nice. It's
Mhm.
nice. And I
Mhm.
think that's enough for me. Like I think that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even, in my idea of religion, it's hard to say there's definite of anything. And I think God is in that box as well. We don't know if there's a God or if there isn't a God. With that being said, there's still comfort in um, confiding in, um, call it God, call it the universe, call it Mother Earth, like anything like that. There's a comfort that I've found in um, giving myself to something bigger. Um, and so, like, that I used to be scared of saying I didn't want to go to church.
Yeah.
Uh, and I do remember there was my specific experience of like leaving not necessarily leaving the church with a capital C, but like just not going to church buildings anymore. Um, was right after my freshman year of college. Came back home. Family was like, "Hey, we're going to church this morning," and I was like, "I haven't been to church in a year. Let's see how that goes." I was in there, and I've had two panic attacks in my life, and one of them was at this moment. They're doing their whole sing songy stuff, and there was just this wave of uncertainty rushed over me. I was like, all of these people are singing to something that doesn't exist. I don't know what they have going on in their head, but they're wrong. And of course, I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea now, but with that happening, I had to take a seat. And I looked at my mom. I was like, I can't be here. Um, and I was scared to tell her that because it's hard to tell your parents, hey, I don't know how I feel about my religion. Um, but she was like, take a walk, go walk home if you need to, because our church was like a mile and a half from our
Imagine it's
house.
like 20 miles. She's like, go
Yeah.
ahead and walk home.
Yep. Trudging through the snow, like, yeah.
Think real hard about that. Go ahead and walk home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but when I got home right about the same time that my parents got there, and I had a conversation with my mom about it, and it was such a huge weight off my shoulders because she was like, "Hey, if Christianity isn't for you, it isn't for you. Like, I can't force you to believe something. Um, I want you to find a way of life that's comfortable to your for yourself." And she has her master's in theology and in counseling, so like
Yeah,
I think that right there was exactly what I
yeah,
needed to hear. And I think since then, I really haven't been to church. I mean, maybe for Christmas services or something like that.
yeah,
But, I've found my relationship with something greater by doing other things like meditation and reading
yeah.
and just talking with people. Honestly, I find God in relationship with people more than I find God in the four walls of a church.
Wow, that's so much to say. Like, it's not even for the podcast. Like, it's just like that genuinely elicits like a real emotional response. Like, that's a really good story. Like, one, first, your mom handled that really well, because I know a lot of
Hmm.
parents in general that if they heard that, it would cause a rift in the family. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So really awesome job to your mom and your parents in general.
Hmm.
The second thing is like. One thing I've noticed is some of the most successful people in this world, they all manifest, and that can look like praying, that can look like just saying to yourself, like, I'm going to do this. And so I think, like, regardless of what you call it, there's a true power in, like, almost telling your brain what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I don't understand it, but I told my friend, he called me the other day, he was down on his luck. He wasn't having any luck at getting a job. He wasn't like none of this stuff was working for him. And he was sending out like applications every day. I was like, bro, like I've been praying lately. That's for me, you know. You can do it too if you want. I know you don't really like believe in that, and I don't know if I do either, but I'm working on it. But like you should at least try manifesting. And he was
Hmm.
like, "All right, I'm gonna try it." And so I gave him a bunch of tips for like what he could do and how he should manifest or like how I do it or whatever. And he started doing it and like, I'm not gonna say this works for everybody, but like it's crazy because like the next couple weeks, like his life just up. Like he got a job offer, like he got accepted into like grad school. He's like now
Hell
seeing this
yeah.
girl that like he thinks he wants to like marry and he like just met her. He's like, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it's like, I think the true key of it all is like his confidence was here. And then just like one friend, I'm not even saying like it was a me thing, but just a friend being able to say, like, no, just believe in yourself. It brought his
Hmm.
confidence here. And now just everything's working. And so
Yeah.
I guess all that to say, like, I think there's power in like talking to something greater than yourself because it reminds you that like you have more strength than you realize, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And then everything is just like a domino. Like once you realize that, everything
Hmm.
works.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that it doesn't always work because I really truly manifested for my third boxing match. I ended up losing that one, but
Oh well. Oh well.
yeah. I but
Hey man,
but
next
but
match you have, I'm putting money on you.
hey, I
Okay.
won the first two. See, there's
Okay.
two
Okay.
trophies right
Okay.
there. See, yeah,
Hell
and
yeah.
see that little you can't even see it. It's so tiny. You see that medal? That's because I lost.
Oh, rest
They
in
gave me a
peace.
second place medal in a boxing match. I got second place.
Oh yeah. You should
Yeah.
start doing underground boxing tournaments, like the shit that like
Yeah.
people like, they drop illegal money on and
Yeah.
shit. Oh,
And
that
like have
sounds so
fake
fun.
beef. Like, I hate you. I'll fight
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave them on the ropes.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I'm a southpaw too. They all see the left hand coming.
you're a southpaw?
Yes,
That's
sir.
rare.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, boxing is kind of like almost it's pulled me out of every rut I've been in. And so like just like you, like I don't go to boxing because I want to be like the next champion of the world. Like I just love it. I love it to
Yeah.
pieces and I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it's just genuine love for the sport.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess like that's kind of all I have to talk about. Did you have anything else you wanted to kind of get out there?
Uh,
Or any questions for me?
oh
You
man.
don't need to
I
make
haven't
up any
really
if you don't have any.
I haven't prepared anything. I'm
It's all
sorry.
good. It's all good,
Yeah.
bro. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Well, if I
it's
do,
weird though that you and I haven't spoken in like at least 6 years, and
Yeah.
we've been able to talk for like an hour. I love that,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can they find you? I have millions of viewers, and they're all wondering where they can find you on the social media.
All right. So on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Rouse Wyatt, RouseWyatt, and that is the same with Twitter at Rouse Wyatt. Don't want to give you guys my Snapchat; that's a little too personal. But other than that,
I'm on
yeah.
the private snap personally.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, but if anybody's watching this, you should follow him because he's gonna be the next Benny Blanco. So, all
It's that's a tall order.
right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, y'all.